Welcome back to the Fit Dad Club podcast. My name is Travis Jones and I'm here with Jason Barrett today. And today we're talking all about FIFO. And for those who don't know what FIFO is, if they're listening to this from another country, that is fly in, fly out, and how to accommodate your transformation, your healthy life with a schedule that can be very structured and then also very unstructured. So Jace, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. Before the call, I was complaining to Trav about how cold it is when I live in WA and he lives in Tasmania, so that was foolish. But yeah, it went from like 28 degrees a week and a half ago to now like 10 degrees overnight and like 15, 16 degrees now. So I've been shocked into it. I'm not prepared for this weather yet. But other than that, doing really well.
Awesome, mate. And for me, what did we do? We didn't do last week's podcast. So we did the run with the girls, or I didn't do last week's podcast with you. But there's a couple of things going on that derailed me. But we did the half marathon with the girls a fortnight ago that we were talking about. The girls did do it under 2 hours, and I did limp across the line with them with sciatica, so that was definitely a positive. So running now for the Gold Coast Marathon that I just got a spot for. So the goal was to try and get that for me, just talking about myself for a second, guys, is to get it under 3 hours and 20. I'm not sure if I'll get the 3 hour 20 mark on July because I've had a bit of a hectic last month, which the training just hasn't been great with staph infection, hamstring and calf and all the rest of it, and then sciatica. But the goal is to definitely get it under the 3:30 mark, and then I have another couple of marathons after that. The goal was always to hit it this year. And I think the testing ground for me is the Gold Coast because it's a flat marathon. There's another flat marathon coming up in September that I definitely know, and it's only around the corner from where I live. So that will give me another sort of 6 to 8 weeks, hopefully, up my sleeve of consistent training to just hammer down because it's like a 444 per kilometer pace for 42.2 kilometers. So for me,
a lot of fours.
Yeah. That's a lot of fours. For me, that is a very fast pace. I'm short. I'm just over 90 kilos. So I feel like my little legs are going to I'm like bloody a bulldog, okay? Imagine a bulldog trying to sprint as hard as it can, and then I have to do it for a marathon. So it is a tough one for me, and I'm trying to condition myself for that, but have that visual representation. So that's all that's happening for me, mate. But the biggest question we get, and what we wanted to talk about today, is FIFO workers and how to manage the fly-in, fly-out lifestyle whilst getting a body transformation. Now, we actually have a lot of clients who are FIFO workers, and we've managed to help them lose 10, 20, 30, 40 kilos whilst being FIFO. And, a lot of the time there's hesitations. It's like, oh, it might not work for me. It's like, this works for everyone. But we need to understand the common problems, and we have to understand the common solutions. And I think there's two different lots of problems and solutions. One is while you're away, what do you do? How do you manage nutrition? How do you manage training? How do you manage, just getting that extra movement in? And then while you're at home, how do you manage those as well? So it's like, because you're having two different lives, and especially if you've got kids and a partner, then it can becoming pretty hectic. So I think one of the biggest things I want to sort of break it down into those three total categories, which is we'll start when we're talking about when we're away on site and we have training, okay? And now everyone has different, a lot of the sites have massive gyms, have literally everything you want. And some gyms don't, like some sites don't. So I think the biggest thing is knowing what your site is. And I'll normally get some of the guys before they go out to send me a picture of what the gym looks like so I can understand the equipment if they can, or on their first day, they'll send me a bit of a list of equipment, a bit of a walkthrough. So we want to make a training program based around what you actually have accessible. I think that's a big thing. And also, whilst you're out there, I normally tell most of the guys, it's like you're working, you're sleeping, you're eating, and you're training. And that's pretty much it, right? Mm-hmm. Working is long hours. We want to try and squeeze it in when you get back from work. You're going to be tired, but you still just want to get it in. You don't have the kids jumping all over you. So, you just got to replace kid time of energy zapping with training time of energy zapping. But it's having that structure for you where it's going, okay, well, I'm out here for 7 days, 14 days, or 4 weeks, or whatever it is for the guys. I want to have a good 5-day structure where I just live in a constant same routine. I think that's the key. It's not like don't try and train before sometimes and train later after your shift. Sometimes it's like I finish my shift and then I do X and then I do Y, then I do Z. And again, depends on the site. You might have busy times in the gym and you might go, oh, you know what, I don't want to train in the really busy times. So it's like you might train at 4 p.m., you might train at 8 p.m., you might train at 9 p.m., whatever it is for you. But it's a constant structure you do every single day. So it doesn't change. I think that's the key thing. Two, actually walking into the gym with a structure is probably one of the biggest things, because when you're tired, you, one, take the piss and just do the exercises you love and you do them, somewhat half-assed. But if you have a structure, you have a training plan, today is legs, today is back. And then, last week I lifted 100 kilos. My goal is a progressive overload. So today I'm going for an extra rep or an extra kilo. So you're going there with a detailed plan with a progressive overload, and you're not trying to decide your feelings or your weight based on your feeling. Sorry, your weight or your exercise based on your feelings, but you're basing it off what your program says you need to do. So I think that is the biggest thing. And everyone out there, with some of the sites that aren't as good as others with the gyms, mate, you can get the great results, amazing results with some dumbbells and a bench. And we've seen that time and time again with our clients. I think the biggest thing you have to understand when we're looking at training is we're looking at fat loss and trying to gain some lean muscle mass, is just training within 2 reps from failure. So if your dumbbells aren't going heavy enough on site, then do 30 reps. Oh, but I thought that's going to not get muscle mass. Mate, train 2 reps from failure, anywhere from 6 reps to 35 reps, it creates hypertrophy. It gains lean muscle mass. Training to 30 reps with 2 reps from failure sucks ass. Lactic acid builds up, especially if you're doing like squats or leg press for 30 reps with the 2 reps from failure. Like, it sucks, right? But you got to do what you got to do. That's why I love a good 10 to 15 sweet spot, or even like 8 to 12 sweet spot. Not because it's a magical hypertrophy range, but just because it's not too much on the strength side, it's not too much on the endurance side, and I can still get 2 reps from failure. And it's a nice area where I'm away from injury as well, because I don't have to compromise form with the intensity or the weight that I'm trying to throw around. So guys, just remember, it doesn't matter if you don't have the heaviest dumbbells, you just have to train 2 reps from failure up to 35 reps, and you're still going to get to the hypertrophy you're looking for.
Yeah, a lot of guys, the issue with the gyms tends to be availability of equipment or like busyness in the gym, right? Yeah. So your goal is then to go, all right, what is the simplest thing I can do? Because there's going to be times, for most sites, they're going to have fucking packed gyms, and there's going to be times when it's packed and there's going to be times when it's not as packed. So you've got to work out within your schedule, hey, am I going to go in the morning before I go to work? Is that when it's the less busy? Is that when it suits me? Or am I going to go, let's say, for example, straight after work and then before dinner? Or am I going to have some dinner, wait a bit, then go? Like, what is your structure going to be to get you the best result in terms of availability of equipment? And even if not, as Trav was saying, you can just have a couple of dumbbells and a bench and just smash that, or even just a couple of dumbbells and a bit of ground to yourself, and you can get a pretty good workout in, right? And you can smash that out. You can cycle through using the dumbbells. And this is what I've said to some of my guys who have like the adjustable dumbbells that you've got to like screw on and screw off the weights. It's like, to minimize that headache, yes, it might say let's do 8 to 12 reps on bent over rows, but if 8 to 12 reps is too easy, rather than like taking the time to screw it off and screw it back on, just keep fucking going, right? Just go for 15 to 20, go for 20 to 25, like go for a bigger rep range where that weight becomes exhausting, and then you don't have to fuck around with changing the weights. The same thing if you can only get like 1 pair of dumbbells when you're at the gym and it's too busy, just pick something and pick a couple of, get your exercises in, be like, cool, what am I going to do? If it's busy, I'm going to do this. If it's not busy, I'm going to be able to do my normal routine. But other than that, I'm just going to do as much as I can with the dumbbells that I've got. And that's it, right? You've got a much better idea of what you need to do. Again, if you have a plan when you're going in there, and even if it's 20, 30 minutes, like you can, the beauty of being on site is like you can be a bit more on, like, because you've not got family. Usually when you finish work, you've not got as many responsibilities because you're usually working a lot longer too. Hopefully, if you're on site, you're getting a little bit of that general daily activity, that physical movement in, right? You're walking around, you're doing stuff, like, unless you're just in a machine for 12 hours a day. But you can then make up for that by doing something almost every day. And then you can almost use, like, let's say you're 2 weeks on, 1 week off. You can use that week off as your rest, like hit the training hard in the 2 weeks, have that 1 week off be your rest from official training, but use that to get your steps up as well. So when it comes to, just to touch on, I guess, like the food on site, they're like, the options are there for you to succeed. You just often choose not to succeed. I was chatting to a client who jumped on board the other day, and he was like, cool, breakfast there was bacon, eggs, hash browns, and toast. I was like, okay, cool, let's cut out half of those things. We either cut out like the bacon and the toast, or the hash browns and the bacon. Basically, it's like one source of carbs, one source of fat. Where like you're overdoing it with multiple sources of different things. If you want to go easy mode, you just go straight fucking eggs, right? One bit of toast if you're feeling frisky. Have some mushrooms and some tomatoes on there if you like them, some spinach. But my biggest advice for anyone who's looking at like the Bain Marie meals and like the stuff that's provided, go for one source of everything. One source of protein, one source of fat, one source of carbs. If you don't understand what those things are, you need to learn how to track food. You need to learn what is the composition of food? What does have fat? What does have carbs, right? Hash browns. Oh, what are they? It's potato. Is that a carb? Well, yeah, it's a carb and it's a fucking fat because they're deep fried, right? You know, eggs are a source of fat and protein. So it's like, you don't just go, oh, eggs are protein, I'm going to have bacon with my eggs. It's like, well, no, eggs already have the fucking fat in them, unless you're going for something like egg whites. So look for those sources of vegetables at every meal. Try not to go for fucking, you don't need smoko. Like, if you're not doing anything physical, you don't need fucking smoko. You don't need afternoon tea. Afternoon tea can be a fucking bit of apple. Have an apple, right? That'll do. Bring some stuff up from home if you can. But then the same thing for lunches, same thing for dinners, is just prioritizing whatever lean-ish meat they've got available. If they don't have a lean meat, then you forego whatever carbs. You know, if they've got a big juicy steak that has a lot of fat on it, you're probably not going to get that with the potatoes. You're just going to get that with the veggies. But you can do portion control. You can serve yourself, right? You can ask them, hey, do you know how many grams this is? Right? Do you know how many grams each of these steaks are? Oh yeah, they're about 200 grams each. Okay, cool. Do you know how many grams this chicken breast is? Right? You can ask these questions, and then you can get a bit of an idea, right? And you can bring like scales up on site with you. All the gyms have scales too. You've got the ability to track everything and your progress. You've just got to
take the gym scales into the kitchen though. Don't
exactly.
take them into the kitchen.
I meant like you can take body weight scales with you, but you can also take like food scales with you. But you can take body weight scales with you too to track your progress. You can ask them how much things are, and it's like, if you portion your plate the same every time, then you can, all right, well, if I'm not losing weight, I can just now scale down my portion size. This is even without tracking food, right? Tracking would be better, but if you just have a plate, you build your plate, yeah, cool. Every time I get the same fucking thing, right? Stop looking for your enjoyment from life out of the food, right? Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't need the cake. I don't need the fucking ice cream. You don't need that shit every single day, right? That's what's got you to the point where, you're at the risk of not being able to have your job anymore because you're too overweight, right? I've got guys who are in that position where the companies are literally like, hey, you can't keep doing this, otherwise we can't fly you out on site because you're a health risk. So guys who are
even like a couple of my guys, very similar, they can't get the next promotion until they lose 15 kilos or 20 kilos. So they're at a risk if they go into the next role. It requires a certain weight limit. I'm not sure even how we get around this these days with putting weight limits on things. But there is clearly for a heart disease and all the rest of it. I understand I understand why there should be, but yeah.
But like, I mean, from a plane perspective, it's like, hey, like if you got enough of your guys flying in, there's a reason that 7 kilos for your checked luggage, 20 kilos for your checked luggage, 7 kilos for your carry-on. It's like, there's a limit. If too many guys are too overboard, like the plane won't fucking make it.
Exactly. But if you think about it, it's like losing the 10 or 20 kilos could be costing someone $15,000 or $20,000 or even $30,000. One of the guys I was talking about is the next level. I think it's about a $30,000, $40,000 pay increase. So like that for him, massive carrot, right? So it's like, I need to lose the weight because I'm literally getting paid to lose the weight because he's done all the education, all the courses to do it. It's just his weight's holding him back. But I think that's for everyone. Like your weight, if you're overweight, your weight is holding you back, right? It could be from the job promotion that you don't know. It could be from spending the time with your kids. Remember, guys, there's always something that's holding us. It's holding us back from something. And, for all of us out there, it is only hard if we make it hard. And we got to this point because we took it the easy option for too long. So now we just, like Jay said, it's like, you don't need dessert while you're on site. Like you don't. You can have a tub of yogurt for dinner. There's always tubs of yogurt out. It's like, have a tub of yogurt for dinner. It's probably like 100 calories, right? Look at the back of it. I would say always when you're away, if you can, and you're on a site where you have your internet connection, all the rest of it, like still use a tracking app. Like we have our tracking app for our clients. So, I said to my guys, if you can ask them the grams of the steak or the chicken or anything, if they know, then fantastic. If they don't know, all you have to go, well, I know that I can look at my hand and understand what the grams are to a degree. So a palm of protein is between 90 to 120 grams. So if that chicken looks like 2 palms of my protein, 2 palms, then I know that that's going to be about 200 to say 240 grams. So you put in your tracking app, 2 palms of chicken, you search chicken breast, 240 grams. You go on the upper end. I know that a fist is a cup of vegetables. So there's some broccoli, it's about a fist of broccoli. Okay, 1 cup of broccoli. Okay, I know that a cupped hand is going to be about 2/3 of a cup. Okay, well, there's some rice. It's about a cupped hand. Okay, 2/3 of a cup of white rice. That's how I would track if you don't have the scales. It's an estimation, but it's a calculated and an educated estimation rather than just like closing your eyes and, hoping for the wind or saying, screw it, I can't do it. And then it's an all or nothing mentality and you just start eating all the apple crumble and ice cream or whatever else is there for dessert. And I'll get back on track when I'm home. And if you're doing a 2 on 2 off sort of roster, cool. You're tracking your food for 26 weeks of the year, and 26 weeks of the year, you're in fuck it mentality. Like we don't want that either. We want to do our best for 52 weeks of the year. And if that's trying to gauge it based on your palm and keeping it similar, like we said, when you go into dinner, I tell most of my guys like 2 palms of protein, 2 fists of vegetables, 1 cupped hand of carbohydrates. Track that. I actually don't really care too much about what the protein source is. If one night's going to be chicken, some nights going to be fish, some nights going to be steak, but you track it, your calories will go up by 100 or down by 100 for that dinner, but it's keeping it very similar every single time. And lunches, I just tell them to like make a wrap up. Get protein, or a salad, depends on the calories. Protein, salad, wrap it up, done. Breakfast, like Jay said, like try and not have breakfast being your biggest meal of the day. And for a lot of people, which is what's got them wrong, Jace, is they do make breakfast without knowing the biggest meal of the day whilst they're on site, because they do go to the bacon, the eggs, the hash brown and the toast, and maybe a sausage in there. That's like 1,000-calorie breakfast. If you're trying to lose weight and you need to be sticking to around 1,800 to 2,200 calories, it doesn't leave much room for your lunch or your dinner. Now, if you're having some snacks in there with smoko and you're having your dinner as well and your lunch, you start having like 3,000, 3,500 calories and you still feel like you're not eating as much because you're eating calorie-dense foods. So have like 3 eggs, 1 piece of toast, some butter, that's going to have enough. It's going to have about 22 grams of protein in it. You're going to have, about 350 calories there. It's good. And, if you want to have a shake, you can bring from home for a mid-morning smoko or afternoon, have a piece of fruit. No one got fat eating an apple. Like literally no one got fat eating apples, guys. Now, you do want to track it. And I don't want you to eat 400 apples a day, but I doubt that you could. But if you are getting that little bit extra hungry as you're trying to down-regulate, because your metabolism, you're going to be hungrier often because you used to eat a lot more, right? So if you get that little bit extra hungry and you eat an apple full of fiber, not apple juice, but you eat an apple and like it's full of fiber and you're up over your calories by like 50 calories because you had an extra apple, it's like, guys, that's not going to stop you from losing fat. But it will stop you from craving and overeating later in the day. So I think it's just understanding, it's like you have to go into your days with a plan. You want to keep your breakfast very similar. You want to already understand what you should be having for your lunches, your wraps or your salads, because you can get it all prepped up. Have some jerky or a shake taken from home or a protein bar, as long as like a lower calorie protein bar, and go towards like a portion controlled dinner with like 2 palms of protein, a couple of fists of vegetables and a cupped hand of carbs. And you're pretty good to go and you can still track. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you've just got to be aware of your results, and you've got to keep, if you haven't got the ability to track everything like rigorously, then you've just got to keep everything consistent. You've got to keep your portion sizes consistent, and you've got to be willing just to commit to eating fucking boring for a bit, like for a while. That's all you need to know. It's like, cool, I'm just going to eat boring. And when you do that, you take the decisions out of your hands. When you take the decisions out of your hands, it becomes a lot easier. The reason why a lot of guys actually do okay on site, but then when they get home, they fuck it up, is because all of a sudden they've got freedom of choice of everything, right? It's not like, all right, I've got the option of chicken or fish or fucking potatoes or rice. It's, oh, I've got everything available. And usually it's like, if you're on FIFO, you're usually earning good money, so you don't mind ordering Uber Eats a little bit more. You don't mind eating in. You just need to have some time off, some downtime and relaxing. Like one of my guys who's like, all right, when I get home, I just park in front of the TV and probably less than 1,000 steps a day on average. And I'm like, fuck, right? We've got to change that. So when we look at your on-site plan, we've already talked about this, right? Bring some stuff from home, bring some protein powder, bring some yogurt, watch your portion sizes, choose one source of everything, go for the Palmer protein, the cup of carbs. Like you can portion that shit out really well. Get to the gym as much as you can, because it's either the gym or the bar for most of the guys, right? So you make the barbell, do what you can in there, with whatever you've got available to you, smash that time out. Make sure you're resting and recovering well. Minimize your alcohol, because that sleep is going to be very important for you. That's your on-site plan. It's a different ballgame when you're back, because often there's like that day of like, oh, I've just flown back, I'm tired, and I need to rest and relax. But you need, yes, you just got back from a very structured week. You need fucking structure. You
need structure. Yeah, 100%.
You are a school child. You need fucking structure.
Yeah.
But to be fair, we're all school children. When it comes to the weekend, like this is not alone. This is not just for FIFO guys. This is for everyone who works. Your weekend is your week off. That is when you don't have structure. That's when you blow out. That's when you just have unplanned, like, oh, I don't even know what we're going to be doing this week. I'll ask my wife. She told me 3 times what the plans were going to be, but I never listened to her. So, what are we doing this weekend, honey? Oh, there's a wedding. Oh, fuck, do I have to get my shirt ironed? Like, have some sense of foresight as to what the fuck is coming up for this week. And for most of the guys who do work FIFO, you've got a lot of free time. And a lot of people spend that time by getting pissed, catching up with mates, doing stuff and whatever. But it's like, that's all good. You can have your social time, but have your structure. Know, all right, as a default, when I'm home, this is what my breakfast is. For me, it would be like, it's the standard breakfast I've had for the last like fucking 3 years, which is protein yogurt with protein powder, with some berries and some cereal and a little bit of peanut butter if I'm feeling it for that morning. Sometimes I sub the peanut butter for some like mixed nuts just for extra variety. But that's it. That's my breakfast every morning. I don't think about breakfast. It's not what am I going to have today? I get up, I start making breakfast before I even realize I've started making breakfast, because it's the same fucking thing every single day. You need that. You need that structure in there. When you get back, you need to do a shop, or you need to maybe have it organized with your partner where they do a shop, or like
just get Woolworths delivery. Like,
do Woolworths online the day before you fly back. It's so good.
Exactly.
It's the best. Like,
guys, there's no excuses anymore. There's no excuses anymore.
100%. You can pick your fucking window. When do you want it to arrive? It'll probably arrive an hour later than that anyway, because that's my experience anyway. But like, you can pick all sorts of shit. You can have everything delivered. You can, while you're feeling healthy and you're good, order all of that. Order a couple of, like, if you're really in the shit with it when you get back, order a couple of freezer meals. Order a couple of My Muscle Chef or Coles Perform. They have like some high protein ones. U-Foods. Order some of those. Have them sitting in the fridge or delivered when you get home. So you've got a default. When I get home, this is what dinner's going to be, because I can't be fucked cooking. I don't want my wife to have to cook. Dad's home. All of that kind of stuff is happening. You want it to be simple. So at least for you, like, they're probably going to be cooking dinner anyway, but at least for you, you've got your meal ready to go. You're hungry. You get home. You've got a fucking something that you can get into straight away. That you're not like, oh, I'm going to make 3 toasted cheese sandwiches with 15 fucking slices of cheese, and I'm just going to wander around the kitchen snacking on whatever's around. You've got to have structure. You've got to have a plan for your food and for your exercise.
I think you just make dumb decisions when you're hungry. And this is not just you listening right now. This is me as well, and it's probably Jace, because like 100%. I just do. But if I have something, exactly, both dumb decisions. Both of them. It's one's led by the gut, the other one's led by your dick. Like, we don't want to be led by anything but our brain, guys. Yeah. So by leading by our brain, we prep shit beforehand. Like, it's just as simple as that. I know I get home on Sunday. I need a pre-made meal because I will sleep in on Monday. Maybe I'll allow my first day to sleep in. I want a pre-made meal there for when I wake up, right? Because otherwise your first step can then be a cascading trajectory into other negative steps. So just buy a couple of pre-made meals and you're already ready to go. And if you've got the decision there, it's your default decision. You don't even think about it. It's like, oh, this is what I do. But also because you've missed, maybe if you're a 2-2 guy, you've missed a couple of nights out with the boys. If you're a 4-2, you missed even more. But let's just say a 2-2, like just because you're away for 2 weeks and they go out maybe weekly with your mates, it doesn't mean you have to make up those 2 weeks either. It doesn't mean you have to go out double the amount when you get back. It's like, remember, we need to act like an adult and we need to be adulting. Okay. So when you get back, it's just like a normal week. You have structure, you get back into your training and just go out that weekend. And then like actually plan to go out that weekend. It's a plan. Try not to like start day drinking every single day you're back, because that's a lot of the habits. I'm not saying this is all FIFO guys, but it is a lot of the habits I've had to work with my FIFO guys, because they get bored sometimes in the afternoon. Some of the guys I did, and I'll just start having a couple of beers because they're normally so structured. But instead, if we can create a structure where they train first thing in the morning, what I've found is then they don't want to have a couple of beers in the afternoon, right? Because they've started off well, they've started off healthy, and then they keep choosing health as they keep going forward. So you might want to get up, if you've got your kids at home with you, maybe you drop them off to school on your week off or 2 weeks off. Maybe it's your plan. You drop them off to school, you go straight from the school to the gym. Right. And you've just get up, you get going, and you go straight to the gym after that. And then your day flows on, right? You might have stuff to do around the house. You might have a side hustle you get into. I don't know what your life is, but I think what we do is we still have structure where we make training a pivotal part of your day, because that is the domino for so many men that knocks over the nutrition domino, the sleep domino, the stress domino, and it also keeps us out of doing dumb shit, right? If all those other dominoes are knocked over, then the dumb shit domino gets knocked over automatically, because there's not much more room for dumb shit. And I think that's a good thing.
100%. I think one of the other biggest things for me is just, even if you haven't got the capacity, let's say you're fucking exhausted after the week, you need the time off, you're not going into the gym for whatever reason, I'd recommend at the very least, just scheduling in like 8 to 10,000 steps. Like you've got the fucking time. You're taking the kids to the park, you're taking them for a walk, you're doing something, your wife will probably love you for it, but you've got the ability and you've got the capacity to just get your general movement up in that time. And you have that be your minimum, right? It's like, cool, when I'm back, I have breakfast and I go for when everyone's off to school or whatever, maybe I do some stuff around the house, I'll go for a walk. That's what I do. You do those things daily and you tick those boxes daily. And because once you start seeing results as well, it starts to feel good. It starts to push you in the right direction. But that time off has got to be spent smarter. That time off has got to be spent with you moving your body. There's no reason why you couldn't also go to the gym or do a home workout or do whatever it is. Like, you can throw those things in there too. You've got the time, you've got the capacity, but you've got to schedule it. You've got to put it in. You've got to have a calendar almost mapped out of what does your week off look like, because otherwise you just get blindsided with stuff. Oh, we're seeing these guys on this day or whatever, especially if you've got a partner who makes a lot of plans for you for when you're back. Make sure you have those conversations. Get a shared calendar so you see what's coming up, and then you know what's going to be happening. But above and beyond all of that, you've got to schedule in your movement. Schedule in when are you going to get those steps in, because they don't just happen unless you're a very physically active person, you're moving around, you're doing stuff. The steps don't just happen, right? You sit down, you watch a couple episodes of like a Netflix show or whatever, or you watch a couple of games of footy on the weekend, and then it's like, oh, holy shit, it's 2 p.m. and I've moved like 2,000 steps, right? And all I've eaten today was like a half a bag of chips, and I had like a bowl of Cheerios in the morning, and now I'm really hungry, so I'm going to Uber Eats some KFC or whatever, right? Like those are the cascade effects that Trav's been talking about as well. But schedule your shit in. Have a calendar almost of what to expect, and you will have a much better time actually sticking to it.
And also you'll feel more energized, and like while you're at home, you won't feel lethargic because you're eating crap food. So then you'll have more energy for the kids. It's like, the best you can do is like schedule your time and again, I look at the guys I've coached, right? And then a couple of them was like, because they were like 2-in-1 rosters, it's like they trained hard in the gym when they're on site. When they're at home, they focused on more bodyweight workouts, right? And it was just like more conditioning and body weight so they could still stay fit and active. They didn't worry too much about the cardio when they're on site. When they're at home, it was like, you know what, I'm going to give me the body weight workouts. Let's pump it out for 30 minutes because they do have more stuff to do. Like a lot of the guys I used to coach or do coach now, and they had stuff around the house, but also they wanted time with their kids. So they smashed out their workout as soon as they drop the kids off. Then they got stuff to do during the day. Then they want to be there with the kids in the afternoon. Then they want to take the kids to the park or do something in the afternoon with the kids to really maximize the time with them. So it's like you want to try and choose active activities as best as you can as well. So it's the prior preparation that, stops you having a piss poor performance, like that acronym, when you're away. So it's like you need to prep ahead of time. What's my dinners? What's the education? How do I do portion control? What's my program? How do I need to lift towards 2 reps from failure, so I'm still getting the stimulus for hypertrophy. I want to make sure I'm in my calorie deficit. This is my snack option, or this is what I'm not doing for snacks. Fantastic. So the prep work is around your training and your nutrition while you're away. When you're at home, the prep work is around your calendar. Like that is literally the prep work, because you don't even have to worry about your calendar when you're away. You wake up at the same time, you eat food, like the mess hall opens, it closes, opens, it closes, right? Your life is so structured. You're like on a conveyor belt going from the one thing to the next thing to the next thing. When you're at home, as Jay said earlier, there's so much freedom. You need to create these like constraints within your day. This is when I get up. This is when I train. This is when I eat. This is when we're going to do this with the kids, and like plan out the stuff you're doing with the kids. It doesn't mean you have to do crazy activities every day, but like try and get to the park with them. Like try and go for rides with them. Try and go for runs with them. Try and go to the gym with them. It depends on how old your kids are. But it's like creating that pure structure. This is when I'm going to have some alcohol with my friends. And all of a sudden you got this plan. And something we always say that Jace has brought up time and time again, it's a life by default or a life by design. And, FIFO workers need the most design when they're at home, right? When they're at home, because they need to design their life. They need to design their health. They need to design their life around their health as well, because it's a very slippery slope. When we look at it, as we were saying earlier, it's like, most people only have 2 days off. Like if you have 7 days off, if you have 14 days off, and those 2 days off, when I look at all my other guys, they're tracking like 5 days out of the week really good. And it comes to Saturday, Sunday, and the tracking goes to shit. Then I'm like, that's the biggest thing I have to try and mold and get them on top of, and planning their weekends, because there's not structure, and they walk past the fridge like 2,000 times a day, just staring at it. What's in it? What can I eat? You're not even hungry. You're just looking at the fridge more often. And that makes you hungry because it's your environmental cue. So it's like, when we look at it,
have nothing in there that you want, and then all of a sudden just like that like raw rice is starting to look real good. I wonder if I just crunch it pasta. Like, would that taste good?
Is that okay? Exactly. You're walking past all this stuff, you're just eating random like corn chips out of a bag you've opened with no dip, and you're like, oh yeah, this was great. Because delicious. It's just but it's bored. It's like boredom eating, because you're normally so busy, right? So we have to understand like structure is the biggest thing. And, you do have the flexibility, because you have so much discipline for 2 days of the week. You have the flexibility, with your days, but we want to try and reduce the friction of your healthy lifestyle, especially until it becomes ingrained. I think this is the biggest thing we understand. It's like, if you're waking up and you love to train and you love to eat healthy and you love to go for runs while you're at home, like you can have more freedom. But if you're listening to this podcast, you probably aren't at that stage yet. Or you could be, and maybe you've listened to the last year and a half and you're like, thanks guys, you fucking helped me change my life. And if so, just keep listening, because
and also
we love
leave us a comment and a review and let us know.
Exactly.
We like to know that we're not just talking to the fucking ether here.
Exactly. But if you're somewhere in the middle, or if you're somewhere at the start, it's like you just have to create like rigidity. You need to create constraints. You need to create structure, and like stay inside these fine lines, and like, use your Google Calendar app, on your iPhone, and like schedule it in. It's like, I've got training. You go, I've got nothing else to do. No, but you've got training in 10 minutes, right? Oh, I'll push it back. No, it's like, no, it's an appointment. Like get the notifications going up, notify yourself, structure into your day. Otherwise, we push things back, right? Like just on the weekends, it's like, oh, I'll train in a little bit. I'll just do this. I'll train. And all of a sudden it's 7 p.m. at night. And you're like, where did the day go? Because hours, minutes, hours, seconds, they all evaporate, right, into thin air. Like, shit will just fill into the space. But if you treat your training just like an appointment, like a doctor's appointment, because it is, right? If you train more often, you see the doctor less. So you're just seeing the gym doctor. If you treat it like a doctor's appointment, exactly, way cheaper. If you treat it like a doctor's appointment, okay, and you actually turn up on time though, then you'll get there and you'll do it and you'll keep doing it. And then over time, you do start to love it and you don't have to be as hard on yourself with the constraints. But at the start, when you're trying to change your life and you're really trying to, move into the habits over the first 12 to 20 weeks, you need to create structure and you need to create rules around this structure as well.
I have to do that constantly. Back when I was, doing more training that wasn't just rehab focused, when I was doing that, it's like, all right, well, I've got to think about when am I going to go for a run? Because especially for a run, because I'm like, if I eat within an hour before it and whatever I'm eating is pretty heavy and this is what I've got for lunch and I've already planned it out because it's leftovers, it's what we've got in the fridge, it hits my goals. I can't have that before I run. So I've got to run earlier. So that means I've got to run somewhere in the mid-morning, maybe when Imi's going down for her nap. Okay, that's the best time for me to do it. So I'm not leaving my wife alone with the kids. That's you've got to think about those things. If you don't think about it, I'll do it now. Oh, fuck, I've just eaten. I can't go to the gym now or train for another hour and a half because I'm I'll vomit if I do. Oh, shit. All right, now I can't train today because in the afternoon we've got this plan. It's if you think about these things ahead of time, you'll be able to go, okay, cool, now I know, rather than saying, I might train today. Whereas today, you might never have been able to fucking train, but you weren't aware of that. And then you thought, I might train. And then it's oh shit, we've got this plan and this plan and this thing's come up. And then I've got to take the kids to this. Oh fuck, I'm not going to be able to train. Now it's something's been taken away from you. Whereas if you plan it ahead, instead of it being I was meant to train today, but I couldn't, I've failed. And then you fucking go binge eat and binge drink. It's no, I was never going to be able to train. Okay, cool. Now I understand that. Where can I compensate? Where can I make up? And then you create the plan. You are in charge, as Trav was saying. You're making your life by design instead of by default. One thing I want to touch on as well is just a lot of guys will rebel against that structure, right? Because they've had so much structure and so much rigidity for those 2 weeks. They almost feel this is my week to let my hair down, to rebel, because everything was so structured and I was told where to be and what to be doing. And I had all this, and now I just need to let my hair down. It's cool. You can do that. You can feel free to have your freedom time and your variety, right? This is what we're actually chasing, is a sense of variety. We've got the sense of certainty that we've had at work. Cool, I know exactly what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. When I get home, I want some variety. I want something different. I want something novel. You don't need to get that from your fucking food. Your food doesn't have to be the thing that gives you that. Look for what are some different activities, or what do I actually want to do, rather than
change up your positions in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Get the Kama Sutra book, surprise your wife,
or
and
be crazy.
Maybe that's where you get your variety.
Just switch what side of the bed you sleep on. Crazy.
Exactly.
I'm on the right side now. What the fuck is
wow?
Yeah, but it's but even above that, think about what shit you actually want to do, because that's the thing, right? It's when you're being told where to go and what to do, you're not in control. As soon as you're back in control, it's I just want to do whatever I'm not being told to do. I just want to do whatever. Instead of being intentional with it and going, actually, what would I like to do? What would actually make me happy? What would fill my cup, right? And that's not language you hear a lot of guys talking about because, it's not fucking manly. I'm just going to go drink beers with the boys because I wasn't able to do that. I can day drink now and no one's going to get me in trouble, so I'm going to do that. I was no, do what you actually want to do. And you have, because the tracking, choosing your food, tracking your food, going for a walk, going to the gym, that's not a very, very big chunk of your day. What's that? 4% of your day, if that, altogether. That's not a long time. You've got the other 96% to do whatever the fuck you want to, right? The things you have to consider, though, is where are you getting that sense of variety from? And if it's all coming from just food and drink and those kind of activities, well, think about what you actually want to do when you're home. Do you actually want to have some variety, spend some time with your kids, play a game, come up with cool activities for them and you to do together and be that kind of dad? Is that not what you want to do? I saw a reel the other day. It was when was the best time in your life? And the best time in your life was when you had small kids. And there was my wife keeps sending me these reels with crying faces as well. It's just it is definitely seeing, especially in the last week and a half, Imi has grown up so much. She started saying so many more words and just talking. She walks around the shop, she just goes, I like this. It's like, oh, that's dishwashing liquid. I like dishwashing liquid, and that's just what she's like at the moment. She's just in such a great age, and we had the best time on Saturday. Just like we were going to go for a walk to the shops to get some yogurt for her. She's like, no, Immy walk. Okay, Immy's walking. So then Immy was walking down, and we went to someone's fucking driveway, where the crossover meets their fake lawn at the front of she just kept going to the start of it and going, ready, set, go, and started running for like 5 steps, and then we'd turn around and go, Daddy, come, and then we'd do it. So we just kept doing this running race of like 5 steps over and over again for about 10 minutes. That was fucking joyful, right? It got my steps up, which was great. But that was what it was about. It's like, I wouldn't have wanted to do anything other than that in those moments. Like, find that stuff for you. You've got to find those moments. Ideally, it's with your kids, right? Spending time with them as opposed to getting pissed with the boys. But find the stuff that you actually want to do when you're back. Find the stuff that would make you happy, that would fill your cup, that would go, yes, this was a good week off, rather than I just did stuff for the sake of doing stuff because no one was telling me what to do.
I think the biggest thing, man, is like when you think about that, the stats are 90% of the time you get with your kids are until they're the age of 18. And then until you're dead, that is the rest of the 10%, which is a sad stat, right? So if you're like, whilst they're growing up, if you are like overweight, under-energized, and don't want to do stuff with them, and you're like, oh, I'll get around to it. You know, when they're a bit older, I'll have more time so I can get fit and healthy. It's like no, like until they're 18 is 90% of the time you get with your kids. You want to try and get fit and healthy now so you can be the best version of you whilst you have the most amount of time with them. I think that is a big thing, because then if you are the best version of you whilst you're spending the most amount of time with them, they'll want to spend more time with you after the age of 18 as well, because you've got so many memories and bonds. If there's something that, if you guys go skiing or if you guys go running and you have this bond with your child up until the age of 18, like that's something you do together, and that's something you will keep doing together. And I think that's a big thing. You want to try and create as many healthy habits as possible before 18. So you can either have, so you're not just like, oh, they come around on a Sunday afternoon for a roast. It's like, no, I like run with my dad 3 times a week. Like create healthy habits and create these connections, and be as best as you can. It's like, you know, I always say, it's like, I'm trying to be as fit as I can so I can be fitter than my kids for as long as I can. I want Jackson to be like 28 years old and I'm like 58 pushing hard to still try and beat him. I was like, he might get me in the sprint, but I will still try and get him in the endurance. So I think it's like, you have to have like these things you can do with your kids that create these long life connections. And if they want to be positive in their kid, don't just, oh yeah, drinking with my kids will be my connection. It's like, okay, great. Then you're going to ruin their life. Like you want to have positive connections with them where you're doing healthy things that are positively affecting their life as well. I think that is something you want to look at for the long-term relationship that you have. And I know this is morphed off a bit of the FIFO stuff, but like, I think it really is the crux of it. Like, get good at something on those 2 weeks off. And if it's fitness, cool, get good at that. Jace, have you got anything else you want to add to today?
No, not really. I think that's a pretty good place to kind of leave it. Just like in those weeks off, choose your life. Don't just let life happen to you. I think this is something that's fair enough for everyone listening, right? Even if you're in a shitty job and you don't like it, like choose what you do. Choose with your life where you spend your time when you're not. If you have to work for, at whatever you're doing to put a roof over the kids' heads, do whatever you can do on those times outside of that to create that life, and think about, well, what is important to me? What makes me happy? And I can undoubtedly say for me, it is spending that time with Imi, and then the little boy, when he comes along, she loves to run. She loves to be outside. She already goes, run, 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 run. She fucking runs better than she walks. I don't think I've seen her walk in like 3 weeks. She just runs everywhere. So I've got to get back up into rehab real quick so that I can keep up with her. But just create your life. Like, choose what you do. Just because you spend half the time away doesn't mean that time you spend back can't be intentional and can't be really productive for your life.
Exactly, guys. And if you want help to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be, go to fit-dad.club. We can have a chat. We can talk about what's holding you back. We can tell you how to overcome it so you can become the best version of you, lose 10, 20, 30 kilos over the next 26 weeks and completely change your life. Don't forget to rate, review, and tell us what you want the podcast to be about. This is for one of the boys who asked about a FIFO podcast, so we threw that one out to him. So if you guys want specific topics, let us know what it is, and we'll help unravel it and give you our opinion on it, guys. But that's it for me for this week. Make sure you guys have a great week, guys, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Peace out.